not going to go super in depth on a lot of these, but just kind of bouncing around the NFL here, and kind of going in chronological order, actually. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that team does not feel like a 4-6 team. There are times that defense feels like the defense of a 4-6 team, but with what Baker Mayfield is doing, this is a this feels like a better team than what is going on out there right now. And when you look at what they could possibly have the rest of the way, it's not insurmountable, I think, for them by any stretch of the imagination here. Just pulling up their schedule real quick. Up next, they have a bye. Then it is at Giants, at Panthers, home Raiders, at Chargers, at Cowboys, home Panthers, home Saints. That home Saints at the end of the year is going to be really interesting, I think, although I don't think they're going to have a whole lot to play for. You go in there. That is a very easy schedule to run the table with, which would be 7 wins, which would put them at 11-6, and holy hell, you're certainly making the playoffs at 11-6. But like in there, there's maybe a banana peel, like maybe one of those road games at Chargers, at Cowboys could be the banana peel that you slip on. Although with the Cowboys, that one's becoming increasingly unlikely. So probably the Chargers one then. But aside from that, all of that feels winnable. So if this team can go out there and just win the games they are supposed to, then they should be in a pretty good spot here down the stretch. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a team that we are going to be quitting on by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, if we can just pull up a futures here, do we have team playoffs? Where are we at? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes, to make the playoffs is at plus 275. That feels pretty good right now. I'm just going to put that out there. That feels like something that might get a little bit of a click at some point. Also, Baker Mayfield is making a whole lot of quarterbacks a whole lot of money now, because there's going to be a lot of, oh, well, Baker figured it out. This guy can too. It's awesome to see Baker bounce back in this way and really show what he has in this kind of second chapter of his career. I don't know what it is going to lead to with Tampa Bay. I don't think this is, well, quarterback of the future, locked in. But you got this guy for a few years, and I think it's going to be pretty good out in Tampa Bay. Sticking in that division, apparently, the Falcons. That's a really bad loss. And I get, like, their kicker missed a bunch of field goals. Maybe we should ask why we needed a bunch of field goals when we're facing New Orleans. And yes, new coach, new energy, all of that. It was Derek Carr throwing to nobody. The most talented guy New Orleans had out on that field dropped a 61-yard touchdown pass, basically. Like, they're New Orleans is not a team you should be having that kind of trouble with. I don't care what new coach bounce there may be. So this is just another nice little reminder that the Atlanta Falcons aren't as good as that record may indicate. Like, you could flip their record with the Bucs, and I would believe it wholeheartedly, having watched this entire season. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs are just wizards at this point. So many red flags to not take this seriously, but it keeps working. This defense is incredible again. The offense continues to have some issues. I'm going to have a real difficult time with this team. Playoff time, I'll be honest. Like, they're obviously making it. As we go along through the season, it feels like an obvious fade. Like, yeah, they're just not covering every week. But when you get to the playoffs, it's like, man, how do you pick against these guys? This week against the Bills, who are coming off that win over the Colts, is going to be a very, very interesting test for this Chiefs team. Also, I have been hesitant to say this. Pittsburgh Steelers are for real. Russell Wilson, it was fun making fun of him for a couple of years, and all of that, but that was pretty good. Those were some pretty good throws that he was making and some pretty good plays. It wasn't winning a Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, but hot damn, was it a whole lot better than Broncos Nation, let's ride, or whatever the hell he said. That this was a different guy than that last couple of years in Denver, and this defense is so good. They are legitimately a problem. One team I think we have to stop taking seriously is the Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores can coach the hell out of a defense, but Sam Darnold is turning into a pumpkin. And I do not mean even just like a nice big pumpkin. I am talking about you went away for vacation and forgot the jack-o'-lantern out on your porch, and now it has frosted 5 times since then, and this thing is molding and falling apart and is in 8 different pieces when you come back. That is Sam Darnold right now. This has gotten ugly very quick. If Indianapolis's defense adjusted anything ever, they probably beat they probably beat the Vikings last week. And now this one, if Jacksonville was even just a smidge resembling a competent football team, they probably win this game as well. So noted that we are going to start fading the Minnesota Vikings, I think, pretty hard here. Same thing goes with the Bears. They're a disaster. They're making some changes in the offensive game plan, firing Shane Waldron. I guess, like, sure, fine. You need a better offensive line. I think that part is glaringly obvious. But yeah, play calling hasn't been helping, so maybe we will see that. But I think the head coach has kind of lost the room, so to speak, as well. The Jets continue to fall apart. It's wild how they gave up 31 points to Arizona, and even weeks after he was fired, it's still somehow Robert Saleh's fault. Sarcasm, obviously. Aaron Rodgers looks bad. This defense got picked apart. They couldn't do a damn thing on either side of the football, and they just got it handed to them by an Arizona team that is just kind of Cowboys are a joke franchise. It is wild to me that a $10 billion organization is having part of their issues because of sunlight in a multi-billion-dollar arena that they built. Like, could you imagine any other Fortune 500 company, whatever? Like, well, you know, the iPhone. Yeah, it's like it's most of the way there, man. Like, the camera's really nice. This new mirroring feature with MacBooks and iMacs, it's pretty sweet. One slight problem: you can't use the space bar or any emojis because also the internet doesn't super connect. And the reason for that is that the day they were implementing those, the sun was kind of coming in and hitting the developer in the eye, and they couldn't fix it. And it's like, yeah, you could put in a curtain, but like, what, you're just going to tear down the whole facility? Like, what are you going to do? We would massive sell-off. All of a sudden, Android phones become the number one thing in the world. Like, just mass chaos everywhere. But because, for some reason, football teams don't need to be run like actual real-life things, we can have an 82-year-old billionaire up there yelling at people who are saying, hey, those curtains you put up for WrestleMania, you think you could put them up there for your football team? It would be comical. I mean, no, it's still comical if it, in reality, I was going to say it would be comical if it wasn't true. It's very true, and it's really funny. More sad, I guess, than anything if you're a Cowboys fan. The primetime games, that's a sneaky tough loss for the Texans there. They had Detroit kind of dead to rights for a lot of that, and to come away not winning that game is just another reminder that this Texans team has taken a step back. And I think even when Nico Collins comes back, there are some issues that you need to really worry about. And the Dolphins do have a their back feel. And in terms of, like, there is a limit to that. Like, I'm not rushing out and picking up a Miami Dolphins Super Bowl ticket or anything like that. But you look at the odds right now, they're plus 300 to make the playoffs the rest of the way. Let's take a look at the schedule, shall we? Gonna pull it up right here. Don't know why it went away so far. Now I have to click through a couple of things. But with Tua back, now let's for sure stop trying to make tackles, my boy. But with Tua back, this offense is at least running competently and should further on. Couple games against the Raiders and the Patriots. Then they go up against the Green Bay Packers. It's a Thursday night game at Lambeau. That one, probably not going to go great. Just going to put that out there now. That feels like a bad time for them. Then they come back on Sunday against the New York Jets. So more time to prepare for a bad football team feels like a dub. It gets a little bit difficult. You got at Texans, home Niners, but then at Browns, at Jets to close out the season. If they can get over the weather thing, because the Cleveland game and the Jets game is going to be tough, those are very winnable games at the end of the season. So if nothing else, they are going to be in the hunt bracket on the one side of the TV broadcasts. And I think this is going to be really, really interesting to see where this team goes the rest of the way.